When have you witnessed a perfect example of karma in real life? Some lady, whose order I was taking, was yelling about prices every time I rung up an item she wanted, and then called me incompetent. Drove around and slammed right into the drive-through curb, still tried to blame me for that. She then managed to hit someone while exiting the parking lot. A cop was also in the parking lot and followed her right out as she sped away. I believe she got what she deserved that day. A guy was speeding and cutting people off. Not a few minutes later, I saw him in a ditch full of snow with a state trooper next to him. There was a teacher who helped me through abuse I was experiencing from both an ex and the school, who my ex was weaponizing against me. My teacher defended me against the school administrators and let me talk about my interests and share my experiences for hours in his free time, and told me repeatedly that it was my own choice to heal, thrive, and succeed when I tried to give him all the credit. At the end of that year, he got a new job at a different school that paid him significantly more, was much closer to his house, and that gave him more free time to spend with his family. I can't think of a better karmic repayment for all the care he showed me. More of the lighthearted-ish instant karma variety. Was sitting on a couch with a few friends, one of whom was fidgeting with and tossing around a large solid glass paperweight. He was sitting right next to me, and I told him to stop because I didn't want him to hit me with it. He proceeded to do a big, dramatic eye roll and tell me I was being ridiculous, and there's no way he would fumble it because his dexterity was so good. Approximately 2 seconds later, he dropped it directly on his own crotch. My husband left me for another woman, and I paid for a server to get my ex to sign divorce paper. One little signature would have taken 10 seconds of his time. Nup refused to sign. I paid 4 times for a server to get him to sign. Totally fucked me around. Fast forward 38 years and he is getting married again. He asks my son to ask me for our divorce papers as he needs them to remarry. And because years ago he ripped his up, I have kept my divorce papers all these years, but I had to lie to my son and say, oh, I don't have them anymore. So that meant my ex had to apply to the Registry of Marriages, Births, Deaths, and pay 80.00 for a copy of the divorce papers. I'm not a nasty person at all. But I thought, oh well, karma does bite you on the bottom even after 38 years. My first summer as a lifeguard, I got hurt on the first day because I tripped and fell and they sent me home for the day. After I left, one of the veteran lifeguards, who I had never had a conversation with, said to everyone I work with that I was pretty enough to be a model, but too stupid to walk down the runway. Apparently only stupid people fall down? Anyway, I had friends there and they told me about it, so I was worried about having animosity with someone who had seniority at my first ever job. The next day she got in a car wreck and was out for the summer with a neck brace. I still to this day have never had a conversation with her. I don't believe in karma, it just felt like very nice luck and coincidence in my favor, haha. I saw a guy run a red light and then immediately get pulled over by a cop. I was driving on a road with a long hill and going a little faster than the speed limit. A car going way faster whooshed around me and I thought, as you do, where's a cop when you need one? Well, turns out it was at the bottom of the hill. The other car was stopped and the driver getting ticketed as I drove peacefully by. No joke. This guy was being such a dick seconds before a car drove by over a puddle and completely drenched him. No digging on the Friday before Easter Austrian thing. My father was digging with an excavator at my house. A week later a hydraulic pipe broke. After 4 years he is still saying it was my fault. Was a passenger in a car with my best friend as the driver. This was an early morning rush hour traffic. We were in a lane next to a bus lane and suddenly we see this car driving down the bus lane and passing everyone by. Call the driver a dickhead and just kept going in the slow traffic. A bit further down the road, we saw dickhead in the bus lane getting ticketed by the cops. We had a great laugh at the moron as he just wasted hundreds of dollars for 5 minutes further, faster. My first day at a serving job, I had an 8 top I was waiting on. They were nice except this one lady was just so rude. I think she was the mom and was out with her adult children who were embarrassed by her behavior and trying to be overly nice to make up for her. I wasn't going to give her any attitude because it was my first day. I was putting a fresh glass of water on the table and the bottom of it just dropped off, and all the water and the glass bottom went into her open purse that was on the seat next to her, leaving me holding the empty glass with no bottom. It was so excellent because it obviously wasn't my fault. I apologized, of course, but she couldn't blame me. Her family seemed unconcerned about her wet purse. I like to think they thought she deserved it. It was funny. I once saw a guy yelling like crazy at his girlfriend in the middle of the street. The girl couldn't say anything because he just wouldn't let her speak. It had snowed the previous day and everything was frozen. At one point the guy took a step forward and fell super hard on his ass. It was cool to watch. Karma in action. Traveling from Johannesburg to Durban in South Africa, there's a pass that you go through that you need to be careful on. Guy in a fancy BMW was driving like an idiot, speeding, recklessly overtaking etc. and nearly collided with me while pushing in front of me. Not long after we drove past him with him standing next to his expensive car pulled over to the side of the road, on his phone, smoke coming out of the car's engine. Gave him the middle finger as we drove past laughing. In the early days of smartphones I was getting onto a roller coaster with my GF when I found an iPhone in the seat. My impulse reaction was cool. Mine now. By the end of the ride something came over me internally and without hesitation I turned it into the attendant as soon as we got off. Walking to the next coaster and am reaching for my phone to which I can't find. Rush back to the ride and find the attendant. He reaches under the desk and pulls out my phone to say the person behind me turned it in. Years before this I was at the same theme park with my buddy. We borrowed my mom's giant SUV to drive 1.5 hours to spend money we didn't have for the day. In line for a coaster we found a 20 bill on the ground. I thought to myself, fuck yeah, we're stopping at Hooters on the way home, proceeded to share an app and some sodas, underage and all. Burned the 20 oogling at the waitresses like middle schoolers, then ran out of gas on the way home at 11:30 p.m. Had to wait my dad to meet us with a gas tank. Fun times lol. Someone laughed at someone else who fell down the stairs. In a few minutes, bro stepped on the wrong foot and broke his leg on those same stairs. We are now, all of us, witnessing karma, all around and everywhere. Well, a coworker that used to scream at me, tell mutual clients I was stupid not to talk to me, said hateful awful things, would ask out loud about losing my virginity, etc. stroked out and died, at a relatively young age. I hated him, so did his own kids. I heard of a guy who got a $450 million fine for decades of tax evasion and financial fraud. My cousin has always been a shit and would act like he was mentally disturbed for attention. Growing up, my mom would make me babysit the freak and he was around 7 demanding to be choked and shit. He also would fight random kids shorter than him on his street, so I had to keep an eye on him. Hated it. I told her one day he would grow up and be a boss. She would then beat me since she favored him cause his mom left him and didn't want him. I wouldn't either. Later on, he got fired from Amazon for saying the N-word, then also got arrested for stalking a girl and staying outside her home at night. He tried to play the I'm a freak. No one loves me. I'm fucked in the head. Now he sits in a mental institute trying to be honest by saying he was joking. They don't take him going to kill myself as a jest there.